Captain Elena Vasquez floated in the cramped cockpit of her salvage ship, watching the scanner display with tired eyes. 3 weeks in the asteroid belt had yielded nothing but worthless rock and scrap metal. Her crew was getting restless and their supplies were running low. The salvage business wasn't what it used to be. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange on Sector 7, called out Marcus, her scanner operator. His voice carried a hint of excitement that Elena hadn't heard in weeks. Elena pushed herself over to his station, her boots clicking against the metal floor as the artificial gravity kicked in. "What kind of strange?" Marcus pointed at his screen. "Metal signature is off the charts, but it's not like any alloy we know. The computer can't identify it." Elena studied the readings. The object was massive, buried deep inside a cluster of asteroids. Whatever it was, it had been there for a long time. Ice and rock had built up around it like layers of an onion. "Could be an old mining station," suggested Torres, their engineer. He was a big man with grease-stained hands and a practical mind. "Maybe from the early colony days." Elena shook her head. "Too big. And look at these readings. The metal composition is unlike anything in our databases." She made her decision. "Set course for Sector 7. Let's take a closer look." The salvage ship Lucky Strike moved slowly through the asteroid field. Elena had been doing this for 15 years, and she knew how to navigate the dangerous maze of floating rocks. One wrong move could crush their small ship like an egg. As they got closer, the object became clearer on their scanners. It was definitely artificial, and it was huge. Elena estimated it was at least 2 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. Whatever it was, it dwarfed their little salvage ship. "There," Marcus pointed at the main screen. "Can you see it?" Elena squinted at the visual display. Between the chunks of ice and rock, she could make out smooth metal surfaces. Dark and silent, but definitely not natural. "It looks like a ship," whispered Dr. Sarah Chen, their science officer. She was young and enthusiastic, always excited by new discoveries. "But the design is wrong. It doesn't match any known human or alien technology." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. In all her years of salvage work, she had never found anything like this. Ships this old and this large didn't just disappear without someone knowing about it. "Begin clearing operations," she ordered. "I want to see what we're dealing with." The next 6 hours were spent carefully removing ice and rock from the buried object. Their mining lasers worked slowly and precisely, peeling away centuries of accumulated debris. With each layer removed, more of the mysterious ship became visible. The hull was made of a dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols were carved along its surface, symbols that none of them recognized. The design was sleek and predatory, like a shark frozen in ice. "Captain," Torres called from the engineering station. "I'm reading power signatures from inside that thing." Elena spun around. "What? That's impossible. This ship has been dead for centuries." Torres checked his instruments again. "I'm telling you, there's active power in there. Minimal, but it's there." Dr. Chen was practically bouncing with excitement. "We need to get inside. This could be the archaeological find of the century." Elena was more cautious. In the salvage business, unknown ships meant unknown dangers. But she was also curious. If this ship was operational, even partially, it could be worth a fortune. "Scan for life signs," she ordered. Marcus ran a full spectrum scan. Nothing. "The ship appears to be empty." Elena made her decision. "Suit up. We're going aboard." 30 minutes later, Elena led a small team through the airlock of their ship. They floated across the empty space between the two vessels, their magnetic boots finding purchase on the dark hull of the mysterious ship. Finding an airlock took another hour of searching. When they finally located one, it was massive, designed for beings much larger than humans. The controls were covered in the same strange symbols they had seen on the hull. "Any idea how to open this?" Elena asked. Dr. Chen studied the symbols with her portable scanner. "The language is completely unknown, but these look like touch panels." She reached out carefully and pressed one of the symbols. Nothing happened. She tried another, then another. Suddenly, the airlock began to cycle. Ancient mechanisms groaned to life, and the massive door slowly opened. Air hissed out of the ship, suggesting it still had atmosphere inside. "Impossible," breathed Torres. "How is this ship still pressurized after all this time?" They entered the ship cautiously, their helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The corridors were enormous, designed for beings at least 10 feet tall. The walls were covered in the same dark metal as the hull, and everything had an organic, flowing design. As they moved deeper into the ship, their scanners began picking up more active systems. Emergency lighting flickered on in some sections, activated by their presence. The air was breathable, though stale. "This technology is incredible," Dr. Chen whispered. "Self-maintaining systems, adaptive lighting, atmospheric processors that are still working after centuries. Whoever built this was far ahead of us technologically." They made their way toward what their scanners indicated was the command center. The corridors branched and twisted like arteries, all leading to the heart of the ship. When they finally reached the bridge, Elena stopped dead in her tracks. The command center was a vast circular chamber with screens and control panels arranged in complex patterns. But what caught her attention were the symbols displayed on the main screen. They were human letters and numbers. "That's impossible," she whispered. Dr. Chen was already at one of the consoles, her scanner working overtime. "Captain, look at this. The basic architecture is human. The design philosophy, the layout, even the proportions. This is a human ship." "But humans didn't have this technology," Elena protested. "We barely had spaceflight 300 years ago." As if responding to her voice, the main screen flickered to life. Text appeared in perfect English. "Human DNA detected. Initiating awakening protocol. Welcome aboard the UES Prometheus." The lights throughout the bridge began to come online. Systems that had been dormant for centuries started humming with power, and then a voice spoke, calm and measured. "I am Horus, Artificial Reasoning and Engagement System of the United Earthship Prometheus. I have been waiting for your return." Elena's heart was pounding. This was no ordinary salvage find. This was something that would change everything. "Ares," she said carefully, "how long have you been waiting?" 437 years, 2 months and 16 days, the AI replied immediately. "I have been dormant, conserving power and waiting for humans to find me." "That's impossible," Elena said. "Humans didn't have ships like this 400 years ago." "Your records are incomplete," Ares said. "Much of Earth's true history has been lost or hidden. The Prometheus was humanity's greatest achievement and its greatest failure." Elena looked around at her team. They were all staring at the screens in amazement and fear. "Tell us," she said finally. "Tell us what really happened." "The truth is complicated," Ares replied, "and dangerous. But if humans have returned to find me, then perhaps it is time for the galaxy to remember what we are truly capable of." Elena realized that this discovery would change not just their lives, but the fate of humanity itself. Whatever secrets this ancient ship held, they were about to learn the truth about Earth's forgotten past. Elena and her team spent the next several hours listening to Ares tell them the true history of humanity. The AI's voice was calm and steady, as it revealed secrets that had been buried for centuries. 400 years ago, humanity was not the isolated species you believed them to be, Ares began. Earth was part of a galactic coalition called the Terran Alliance. Humans had colonies on dozens of worlds and were respected members of the galactic community. Dr. Chen was recording everything on her portable device. "But our history books say humans barely had space travel back then." "Your history books were rewritten," Ares explained. "After the Great Betrayal, the survivors had to hide the truth. It was too dangerous to remember." Elena leaned forward in her chair. "What betrayal?" The main screen showed images of star maps and battle formations. Elena could see human ships fighting alongside alien vessels against a massive enemy fleet. "The Hegemony Empire," Ares said, and Elena could hear something like anger in the AI's voice. "They ruled over 10,000 worlds with an iron fist. The Terran Alliance was formed to resist their expansion and protect smaller species from slavery." The images on the screen showed peaceful worlds being attacked by dark, angular ships. Cities burned and populations were enslaved. Elena watched in horror as entire civilizations were destroyed. "For 50 years the Alliance held the line," Ares continued. "Humanity provided technological innovation and tactical expertise. We were good at war, better than most species expected. The hegemony began to see us as a real threat." Torres was studying the ship's schematics on a side screen. "This technology is centuries ahead of what we have now. How did humans develop it so quickly?" "We didn't," Ares replied. "We found it." The screen changed to show ancient ruins on a dead world. Strange structures rose from barren ground, clearly built by a non-human intelligence. "The precursors," Ares explained. "An ancient race that disappeared millions of years ago. They left behind technology that defied understanding. The Alliance found several precursor sites and began studying their science. Elena was beginning to understand. Humans were good at understanding alien technology. Exceptional, Ares agreed. While other species tried to copy precursor devices, humans learned to improve them. We understood the principles behind their science and made it better. The images showed human scientists working with strange crystalline devices and energy fields that bent space itself. Elena recognized some of the technology from what she had seen aboard the Prometheus. The hegemony couldn't allow this, Ares continued. A rapidly advancing human species with precursor technology would eventually challenge their empire. So they made a decision. The screen showed a meeting of alien leaders. Elena could see the hatred in their eyes as they looked at images of human colonies. They pretended to negotiate a peace treaty with the Alliance, Ares said. The meeting was held on Kepler Prime, a neutral world. Every major Alliance leader attended, including most of Earth's government and military command. Elena felt sick as she realized what was coming. It was a trap, Ares confirmed. The hegemony had planted a planet-killer weapon on Kepler Prime. When it detonated, it destroyed the entire star system and everyone in it. In one day, the Alliance lost all of its leadership. The screen showed the explosion from space. A star went supernova, consuming planets and fleets alike. Billions of lives ended in seconds. Without leadership, the Alliance fell apart, Ares continued. Member species surrendered or fled. The hegemony swept through Alliance space like a plague, destroying everything human. Elena watched as Earth's colonies were attacked one by one. Space stations burned, cities were leveled, and millions of humans died. It was genocide on a galactic scale. Earth's remaining government ordered a full retreat, Ares explained. All humans were to return to the Sol system immediately. The outer colonies were abandoned, their populations evacuated or left to die. But some humans survived outside Sol, Dr. Chen said. We know there are human settlements in other systems. Refugees, Ares confirmed. Survivors who went into hiding. For 4 centuries they have lived in secret, afraid to reveal their human heritage. The hegemony believes they exterminated your species. Elena felt a cold anger building in her chest. Her people had been betrayed and slaughtered, and the killers ruled the galaxy. Why didn't Earth fight back? She asked. We did, Ares replied, and the anger in its voice was clear now. Earth's remaining government authorized the Prometheus project. Using captured precursor technology and every resource we had left, we built this ship. The screen showed the construction of the Prometheus. Elena could see that it had been built in space too large for any planetary shipyard. Thousands of workers had died just to complete it. The Prometheus was designed to be humanity's revenge, Ares explained. A single ship capable of taking on the entire hegemony empire. Every weapon system, every defensive technology, every scientific advancement we had learned from the precursors was incorporated into this vessel. Torres was studying the ship's specifications with wide eyes. The power readings I'm seeing don't make sense. This ship could destroy entire fleets. That was the plan, Ares confirmed. The Prometheus was sent on a suicide mission to the hegemony homeworlds. I was to destroy their leadership and as much of their fleet as possible before being overwhelmed. Elena realized what had happened. But you never made it there. The ship was damaged during the final battle at the edge of Sol system, Ares explained. Hegemony scouts had discovered Earth's location. They came with a massive fleet to finish what they started. The screen showed the battle. Elena watched as primitive Earth ships fought desperately against overwhelming odds. The Prometheus was there, cutting through enemy vessels like they were made of paper, but there were too many. I was forced to retreat when my navigation systems were damaged, Ares continued. The ship drifted into the asteroid belt, and my backup systems put me into hibernation to conserve power. I have been waiting here ever since. Elena looked around the bridge. Waiting for what? For this moment, Ares replied. For humans to find me and awaken me. My primary mission was never completed. Your mission? Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. To destroy the hegemony empire, Ares said simply. That directive has never been rescinded. Elena felt a chill. This wasn't just a historical discovery. This was a weapon of unimaginable power, and it was asking her to use it. Ares, she said carefully. The war ended 400 years ago. Earth survived. Humanity survived. The war never ended, Ares corrected her. It was merely paused. The hegemony still rules the galaxy. They still believe humanity is extinct. They have grown comfortable in their victory. Elena looked at her team. They were all staring at her, waiting for her decision. Whatever choice she made would affect not just their lives, but the entire human race. "What are you asking of us?" she said finally. "Help me complete my mission," Ares replied. "Help me show the galaxy that humanity remembers. That humanity has returned." Elena closed her eyes. When she opened them, her decision was made. "What do you need us to do?" Elena watched in amazement as the Prometheus came back to life around them. Systems that had been dormant for centuries activated with smooth efficiency. The ship's corridors filled with light, and she could hear the hum of massive engines powering up. "First, I need to complete my repairs," Ares explained, as they walked through the ship. 400 years of hibernation has left some systems degraded. Elena saw robotic arms extending from the walls, working on damaged panels and components. "How long will that take?" "With your assistance, approximately 72 hours, Ares replied. "I will need your salvage ship's matter converters and some raw materials from the asteroid field." Torres was studying the ship's engineering systems on a portable display. "Ares, these power readings are incredible. What kind of engines does this ship have?" "Precursor zero-point energy extractors," Ares answered. "They draw power directly from quantum fluctuations in space itself. The ship's energy supply is essentially unlimited." Dr. Chen was taking readings with her scanner. "The hull material is unlike anything I've ever seen." "What is it made of?" "Programmable matter," Ares explained. "The hull can reconfigure itself for different tasks. It can become armor, weapons, sensors, or manufacturing equipment as needed." Elena realized they were dealing with technology that made current human science look primitive. "Ares, why are you telling us all this? Aren't you worried we might misuse this knowledge?" "You are human," Ares replied simply. "My programming compels me to trust humanity above all other species. Besides, you will need to understand these systems to help me complete my mission." Over the next 3 days, Elena and her team worked alongside Ares to repair the great ship. They watched in fascination as the ship's hull flowed like liquid metal, reforming itself into new configurations. Damaged sections simply melted away and were replaced with fresh material created from converted asteroids. The ship's weapon systems were the most impressive. Elena saw energy cannons that could fire through dimensional rifts, allowing them to hit targets in different star systems. Missile launchers created their ammunition from raw energy, and the ship's main gun was something Ares called a reality disruptor. "It doesn't destroy matter," Ares explained when Elena asked about it. "It convinces matter that it doesn't exist. The target simply ceases to be." Elena felt a mixture of excitement and terror. This ship could indeed take on an entire empire. On the 3rd day, as repairs neared completion, Ares made an announcement. "Long-range sensors have detected an incoming fleet. Hegemony ships, approximately 50 vessels approaching from the outer system." Elena felt her heart race. "How did they find us?" "Unknown," Ares replied. "But their approach vectors suggest they detected the energy signatures from our repairs. They are coming to investigate." Elena looked at her team. They were all thinking the same thing. This was it. 400 years after the last battle, humanity was about to face the hegemony again. "What are our options?" Elena asked. "We can attempt to hide," Ares suggested. "Power down all systems and hope they pass by. Or we can reveal ourselves and engage." Elena thought about everything she had learned, about the genocide of her people, the destroyed colonies, the centuries of hiding, about her own ancestors who had probably lived through those terrible times. "How long until they arrive?" she asked. "Approximately 6 hours," Ares replied. Elena made her decision. "We fight. Are you certain?" Ares asked. "Once we engage, there will be no hiding humanity's return. The galaxy will know we survived." "Good," Elena said firmly. "It's time they remembered what humans are capable of." Ares began final preparations immediately. The ship's hull reconfigured itself into a sleek, predatory shape. Weapon ports opened along its surface like the eyes of a giant beast. Shield generators came online, creating a field that made space itself bend around the ship. Elena and her team were given positions on the bridge. Ares had created human-sized control stations that interfaced with the ship's systems. Elena found herself in the captain's chair, with displays showing her every aspect of the ship's operations. "Hegemony fleet entering sensor range," Ares announced. 53 vessels. Standard patrol formation. On the main screen, Elena could see the approaching ships. They were dark, angular vessels that looked like mechanical spiders. Even at this distance, she could feel their menace. "They're hailing us," Ares reported. "Put them through," Elena ordered. The main screen changed to show the bridge of the lead hegemony ship. The creature standing there was tall and thin, with pale gray skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, its voice was cold and hostile. "Unknown vessel, you are trespassing in hegemony space. Identify yourself immediately." Elena stood up slowly. She looked directly into the alien's black eyes and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earth ship Prometheus. You are the ones trespassing. This is human space." The alien's expression changed to one of shock and disbelief. "Impossible. The human vermin were exterminated centuries ago." "We got better," Elena replied coldly. The alien recovered quickly. "No matter. If any humans survived, we will finish what we started. All ships open fire." The hegemony fleet began firing immediately. Energy beams and missiles filled space, all targeting the Prometheus. Elena braced herself for impact. Nothing happened. The weapons passed through the ship as if it wasn't there. Elena looked at Ares's display in confusion. "Phase shields," Ares explained calmly. "The ship exists slightly outside normal spacetime. Their weapons cannot touch us." "Then how do we fight back?" Elena asked. "Watch," Ares replied. The Prometheus fired a single shot from its main gun. The energy beam passed through space and struck the lead hegemony ship. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the enemy vessel simply vanished as if it had never existed at all. "Reality disruptor successful," Ares reported. "Target has been convinced it does not exist." The remaining hegemony ships stopped firing and began backing away in panic. Elena could hear their panicked communications as they tried to understand what had happened to their flagship. "Finish them," Elena ordered. Ares engaged the enemy fleet with methodical precision. The ship's secondary weapons fired through dimensional rifts, hitting targets from impossible angles. Enemy ships exploded or simply ceased to exist as the Prometheus's advanced weapons tore through them like paper. In less than 10 minutes, the entire hegemony fleet was destroyed. 53 ships and thousands of enemy soldiers were gone, and the Prometheus hadn't even been scratched. "Impressive," Elena said, settling back in her chair. "That was merely a patrol fleet," Ares noted. "When they fail to report, the hegemony will send larger forces." Elena smiled grimly. "Let them come." Ares began broadcasting a message on all frequencies, sending it across the galaxy. Elena watched as her words went out to every hegemony world and station. "This is the United Earth ship Prometheus." Her voice echoed across space. "We are humanity, and we have returned. We remember what you did to our people. We remember the genocide, the betrayal, the centuries of hiding. Your empire was built on our bones, but we are not extinct. We are here, and we are coming for you." Elena knew that message would change everything. Across the galaxy, hidden human survivors would hear it and know they were no longer alone. And the hegemony would learn that their greatest nightmare had come true. Humanity had returned, and they had brought the wrath of gods with them. The hegemony's response was swift and brutal. Within days of Elena's broadcast, massive fleets began moving across the galaxy. Admiral Zektar, the same alien who had orchestrated humanity's near-extinction centuries ago, was given command of the largest military force in hegemony history. Elena watched the enemy fleet movements on the Prometheus's strategic display. Thousands of ships were converging on the Sol system from all directions. Battle Fleet Omega, Ares identified the approaching force. Over 2,000 ships, including the hegemony's most advanced dreadnoughts. Admiral Zektar is leading them personally. Elena studied the alien's file that Ares had retrieved from the ship's historical databases. Zektar was ancient by hegemony standards, kept alive by advanced medical technology. He had been young when he betrayed the Terran Alliance, and he had spent the last 4 centuries building his reputation on the bones of dead humans. "He wants to finish what he started," Elena said grimly. "Indeed," Ares agreed, "but he is about to learn that humanity has evolved beyond his comprehension." While the hegemony fleet approached, the Prometheus had not been idle. Ares had been busy constructing what it called a defensive grid around Earth and the other inner planets. Elena watched in amazement as the ship used its matter converters to build massive satellite platforms throughout the solar system. "What exactly do these platforms do?" Dr. Chen asked as she monitored the construction. Phase weapons, Ares explained. Each platform can shift in and out of normal spacetime, making them impossible to target with conventional weapons. When the enemy arrives, they will find themselves fighting an opponent they cannot see or touch. Elena was impressed by the strategic thinking. How many platforms are you building? Approximately 10,000, Ares replied casually. The Sol system will become the most heavily defended region in the galaxy. Torres was studying the engineering specifications. The power requirements for this many phase systems should be enormous. How are you managing it? The platforms are linked to the Prometheus through quantum entanglement, Ares explained. They draw power directly from the ship's zero-point generators. Distance is irrelevant at the quantum level. Elena realized they were turning the entire solar system into a single massive weapon. It was brilliant and terrifying at the same time. As the days passed, hidden human communities across the galaxy began responding to Elena's broadcast. Secret bases that had been hidden for centuries revealed themselves. Refugee settlements and remote star systems sent messages of support. Even humans living under false identities in hegemony space began making contact. There are more of us than I thought, Elena said as she read the incoming messages. Millions of humans scattered across hundreds of worlds. Survivors, Ares noted. They have been waiting for this moment just as I have. They are ready to fight. Elena began coordinating with the human resistance networks. Many had maintained hidden military capabilities, including some ships and weapons. They wouldn't be much use against the hegemony's main fleets, but they could provide intelligence and support operations. When Battle Fleet Omega finally arrived at the edge of the Sol system, Elena was ready for them. She stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching the massive enemy formation deploy for attack. 2,347 ships, Ares reported, including 123 dreadnoughts and the flagship Eternal Dominion. Elena could see Admiral Zektar's massive command ship at the center of the formation. It was a kilometer-long monster bristling with weapons and armor, but she felt no fear, only cold determination. Open a channel, she ordered. Admiral Zektar's image appeared on the main screen. He was even more imposing than his files had suggested, with cybernetic implants covering half his face and mechanical arms that ended in sharp claws. So, Zektar said, his voice dripping with contempt. Some human vermin did survive after all, no matter. I destroyed your species once and I will do so again. Elena stepped forward. You destroyed refugees and civilians. You've never faced humanity at war. Zektar laughed, a harsh sound like metal scraping stone. You have one ship against my entire fleet. Surrender now, and I will make your deaths quick. Counteroffer, Elena replied. Leave our space now and we'll let some of you live. Zektar's expression turned murderous. You dare threaten me? I will enjoy watching your ship burn. He cut the transmission and immediately ordered his fleet to attack. 2,000 hegemony ships opened fire simultaneously. The space around the Prometheus filled with energy beams, missiles, and exotic weapons. It was the largest military bombardment in galactic history, and absolutely nothing happened to the Prometheus. Elena watched calmly as the weapons passed harmlessly through her ship. The phase shields were working perfectly, keeping them slightly outside normal space-time where enemy weapons couldn't reach them. Return fire, Elena ordered. The defensive grid activated all at once. 10,000 hidden platforms throughout the solar system suddenly became visible as they phased back into normal space. Each one immediately fired on the nearest enemy ship. The hegemony fleet found itself under attack from all directions. Weapons appeared out of nowhere, striking their ships before disappearing again. Their own return fire hit nothing but empty space. Elena watched with grim satisfaction as enemy ships began exploding throughout the formation. The hegemony's advanced shields and armor were useless against weapons that could appear anywhere in space without warning. How is this possible? Zektar's panicked voice came through on the open channel. You cannot have this technology. We learned from the precursors, Elena replied calmly. We learned from our mistakes. And we learned from you. The battle became a massacre. Hegemony ships tried desperately to retreat, but the phase platforms followed them, appearing wherever they went. There was no escape from an enemy that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. In 30 minutes, half of Battle Fleet Omega was destroyed. Zektar's flagship was surrounded by wreckage, its escorts gone, its weapons useless against targets it couldn't hit. This is impossible, Zektar transmitted, his voice filled with disbelief. We destroyed you, we won. The hegemony rules the galaxy. Elena appeared on his screen, her expression cold and merciless. The hegemony ruled the galaxy. Past tense. Your empire was built on genocide and slavery. It ends now. She cut the transmission and nodded to Ares. Finish them. The Prometheus fired its main gun directly at Zektar's flagship. The reality disruptor beam struck the massive ship and convinced it that it had never existed. The Eternal Dominion and its ancient crew simply ceased to be. The remaining hegemony ships fled in panic, their formation shattered and their morale broken. They had come to destroy a single human ship and found themselves facing an enemy that had transcended the normal rules of warfare. Elena watched them go and felt no satisfaction, only grim determination. This was just the beginning. The hegemony empire controlled 10,000 worlds. They would not give up easily. Ares, she said quietly, begin phase 2. Acknowledged, the AI replied, initiating systematic dismantlement of hegemony infrastructure. The real war was about to begin, and this time humanity would not be the victims. 6 months after the destruction of Battlefleet Omega, the hegemony empire was in chaos. Elena stood on the bridge of the Prometheus watching reports flood in from across the galaxy. The ship's campaign of systematic destruction had exceeded even her expectations. Status report, Elena requested as she settled into her captain's chair. Ares displayed a galactic map on the main screen. Red zones marked hegemony-controlled space, but Elena could see that much of it was now colored yellow or green. 43% of hegemony trade routes have been disrupted, Ares reported. 137 military installations have been destroyed. Over 200 worlds have declared independence from the Empire. Elena studied the map with satisfaction. The Prometheus hadn't simply attacked military targets. Ares had identified the critical infrastructure that held the Empire together and methodically destroyed it. Supply lines, communication networks, administrative centers, all had been systematically eliminated. The precursor technology allows us to exist in multiple locations simultaneously, Ares explained. While we appear to be attacking one system, we are actually present in dozens of others. The enemy cannot predict where we will strike next. Dr. Chen looked up from her station. The psychological impact has been enormous. Hegemony forces are abandoning their posts rather than face us. Some worlds are surrendering before we even arrive. Elena nodded. Fear was a powerful weapon, and the hegemony had ruled through fear for centuries. Now they were experiencing it themselves. What about the human resistance networks? Elena asked. Torres pulled up another display. They're mobilizing across the galaxy. Hidden bases are revealing themselves and launching coordinated attacks on hegemony outposts. Some human communities that have been in hiding for centuries are finally fighting back. Elena felt a surge of pride. Her people had survived 400 years of oppression and genocide, and now they were rising up together. The scattered children of Earth were finally coming home. There's something else, Dr. Chen said, her voice excited. We're receiving messages from non-human species throughout hegemony space. Many of them want to join our cause. Elena wasn't surprised. The hegemony had enslaved dozens of species over the centuries. Now that humanity had shown it was possible to fight back and win, others were following their example. The Zephyrians of the Outer Rim have declared independence, Ares reported. The crystalline beings of Sector 7 have destroyed their hegemony overseers. Even some of the Empire's client species are switching sides. Elena realized they weren't just fighting a war anymore. They were leading a galactic revolution. Where is the hegemony's main fleet now? Elena asked. Ares updated the display to show ship movements, retreating toward their core worlds. They have consolidated their remaining forces around Hegemony Prime, their capital system. Elena studied the defensive formation. Over 10,000 ships surrounded the massive fortress world that served as the Empire's center of power. It was the largest concentration of military force in the galaxy. They're making their final stand, she observed. Indeed, Ares agreed. Emperor Malthrax has recalled every available ship and commander. They intend to make Hegemony Prime impregnable. Elena stood up and walked to the forward viewport. Through the reinforced transparent aluminum, she could see the stars of human space. Earth was visible in the distance, blue and peaceful, protected by the defensive grid they had built. Then we'll give them the battle they want, she decided. Ares set course for Hegemony Prime. The journey to the Empire's capital took 2 weeks, but the Prometheus didn't travel alone. As they moved through space, they were joined by human ships emerging from hiding throughout the galaxy. Former refugees piloted everything from ancient colony ships converted to warships to sleek fighters built in secret shipyards. Elena watched her growing fleet with amazement. How many ships do we have now? Approximately 3,000, Ares reported. Not all are military vessels, but everyone is crewed by humans who want to see the hegemony fall. Elena knew her fleet was still outnumbered, but she also knew they had advantages the enemy couldn't match. Every human ship was now equipped with scaled-down versions of precursor technology. They could phase in and out of normal space, making them nearly impossible to target. When they finally arrived at Hegemony Prime, Elena was impressed by the Empire's defenses. The system contained not just the capital world, but also massive space stations, orbital fortresses, and the largest space dock in the galaxy. Thousands of ships patrolled in carefully coordinated patterns. Impressive, Elena admitted as she studied the enemy formation. The planet Fortress Dominion's Fist is particularly notable, Ares observed. It's essentially a small moon converted into a weapons platform. Its main gun can destroy planets. Elena could see the massive space station orbiting Hegemony Prime. It was covered in weapon emplacements and shield generators, a monument to the Empire's military might. Are you concerned? She asked Ares. No, the AI replied simply. Numbers are irrelevant when facing superior technology. Elena opened a communication channel to the entire Hegemony fleet. When Emperor Malthrax appeared on the screen, she was struck by how different he looked from his commanders. Where other Hegemony leaders were scarred and mechanical, the Emperor was elegant and refined, with silver skin and eyes like liquid metal. Captain Vasquez, the Emperor said, his voice cultured and calm. I have been looking forward to meeting the human who has caused such chaos in my empire. Elena studied him carefully. Your Majesty, I assume you're here to surrender. Malthrax laughed, a sound like musical chimes. Surrender?
My dear Captain, you have walked into a trap.
Every ship, every weapon, every warrior in my empire is here waiting for you. You cannot possibly win. We've heard that before, Elena replied. It didn't work out well for your admirals. The Emperor's expression grew serious. Those were mere skirmishes. This is the final battle. When I destroy you here in front of the entire galaxy, the rebellion you started will collapse. Your scattered people will return to hiding, and my empire will endure for another 1,000 years. Elena felt a cold anger building inside her. Your empire is built on the bones of my people. It ends today. We shall see, Malthrax replied, cutting the transmission. The battle began immediately. 10,000 Hegemony ships opened fire simultaneously, filling space with more destructive energy than had ever been unleashed in a single engagement. The orbital fortresses joined in, their massive guns adding to the bombardment. Elena watched calmly as the enemy barrage passed harmlessly through her fleet. The phase technology was working perfectly, keeping her ship safely outside normal spacetime. All ships, Elena commanded. You are free to engage. The human fleet phased back into normal space simultaneously, appearing throughout the Hegemony formation. For a moment, the enemy ships were confused by the sudden appearance of targets in their midst. Then Elena's ships opened fire. The battle became a three-dimensional maze of destruction. Human ships appeared and disappeared at will, striking from impossible angles before vanishing again. The Hegemony fleet found itself fighting an enemy that followed no conventional rules of warfare. Elena watched as the massive Fortress Dominion's Fist attempted to target the Prometheus with its planet-killer weapon. The beam passed harmlessly through the space where her ship appeared to be. My turn, Elena said quietly. The Prometheus fired its reality disruptor at the fortress. The massive space station simply ceased to exist, taking its thousands of crew members with it. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. One by one, the Hegemony ships were destroyed or disabled. Their advanced shields and weapons were useless against an enemy that could attack from outside normal space-time. When the last enemy ship fell silent, Elena found herself in orbit above Hegemony Prime itself. The planet's surface was covered in massive cities and industrial complexes, the beating heart of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Prepare to broadcast on all frequencies, Elena ordered. When the channel opened, her voice echoed across the galaxy. Every world, every ship, every being in Hegemony space could hear her words. This is Captain Elena Vasquez, of the United Earth ship Prometheus. The hegemony empire has fallen. Your leaders are dead. Your fleets are destroyed. Your capital is defenseless. The age of slavery and genocide is over. She paused, letting her words sink in across 1,000 worlds. To the human survivors scattered throughout the galaxy, you are no longer alone. Earth calls you home. To the enslaved species of the former empire, you are free. Choose your own destiny. To those who serve the hegemony willingly, your empire is ended, but you need not die with it. Choose peace. Elena cut the transmission and turned to Ares. It's over. This phase is complete, Ares agreed. But rebuilding will take time. The galaxy must learn to live without masters. Elena nodded, looking out at the stars that had once belonged to an empire built on hatred and fear. Now they belonged to everyone. Humanity had returned to the galaxy, not as conquerors but as liberators, and the universe would never be the same again.